Deep Shot Podcast, Season 4, Episode 32.
So I was thinking about this earlier today. Quiz Rogers, number 32 for the Falcons.
Dude, he played at Oregon State in college, correct?
He did. Yes, he did.
Caleb,
There are much better 32s than that guy. Shaq wore 32. Magic Johnson wore 32. Jim Brown
Okay, I
wore
was about
32.
to say, give me a football one, but yeah, Jim Brown might take the cake on this one. I think Quiz Rogers was like 5'5", like 160, and he'd run through a person's face, man. He would.
There was also a guy that, had a famous drive with a Bronco that wore 32. That was a pretty decent football player as well.
Back when football players weren't soft, huh? All right, let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of the Deep Shot Podcast. It is rivalry week. It's Thanksgiving week. So you're listening to this. We're coming out with this on Wednesday, so you can get it in before your Thanksgiving feast on Thursday. We've got Black Friday coming up in a huge slate of games. We were just talking about this before we got on. I mean, it is packed on Black Friday. I feel like this is just going to be the norm. I feel like it's always had some games on Black Friday, but this year it is just full throttle. I mean, the SEC has gotten fully involved with putting a ton of their big games on Black Friday. So we're going to be talking about that. We've got the Thanksgiving games for the NFL on Thursday. Really good slate there, especially with somebody like Joe Burrow coming back to play on Thanksgiving night. So that'll be exciting. We're going to talk about all of that. Just before we get into that, just want to remind you guys to make sure you're following on Instagram and TikTok. We're trying to get to 2,000 followers here, 2,000 followers by the end of 2025. We're sitting around 1770 something right now. So if we can get a big push, that'd be great. We started the season with about 1,000, trying to get to 2,000 by the end of the calendar year. Okay, so we've got some really big matchups. We're going to talk Georgia Tech, A&M Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, Iron Bowl. But before that, Caleb just let us know he had some breaking news out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana today that is not good for him. So we just need to hear what that is, Caleb. We haven't even heard. So breaking news for all of us.
Okay, so I have a friend who lives in the city who knows some people and has told me as of Saturday, there was a kid by the name of Knox Kiffin who is enrolled in a private school in the area for the second semester.
Really? Well, I mean, I did see, I don't know if y'all saw this, but Knox Kiffin on this past Friday, apparently, I don't know if this is a doctored image or if I got 27 Force.
No, he wore LSU headphones.
Or the LSU headphones. That's
all.
I felt like it was a troll job, but I mean, once you get a kid enrolled in school, there's also a rumor that Layla bought a house in Baton Rouge. But honestly, it could be them dipping in the both pans. And you hear this stuff on both sides, though. So it's hard to believe what's true, but that's hard to refute. But there's also been people saying that Lane bought a house in Gainesville and So, what it was to it. We'll see Saturday after the slate is complete. Maybe announces on Friday after they play their game.
And maybe,
who knows?
Maybe that's the thing. Like, what if they were to lose on Friday and then he just comes to the press conference? All right, guys. Well, it was fun. I'm heading over the Baton Rouge. Ole Miss, do you guys think if Ole Miss lost on Friday, they would just scoot out of the playoffs?
That would be so bad for the playoff. That would be so bad for football. I just don't see a way that you can do it. You're going to penalize the kids once again. I mean, we've seen this already with Florida State, but that was more warranted because they lost their quarterback too, and it was a 4-team playoff. Booting them from 6 when their only loss is on the road to Georgia all the way out. Mississippi State there last week.
What if they lose the Egg Bowl?
After they're at 10-2 with an Egg Bowl loss at the end of the year, I mean, it looks just as bad as Oklahoma's loss to Texas in the middle of the year in my book.
Well, do you think, okay, so what you were saying there, if they are 11-1, and then he decided he would leave, I don't think they would knock him out of the playoffs for that, but that would be insane. There is rumors of that, though. That would be absolutely insane to just put a team from 6 to 13. There's no way they would do that.
Yeah, no shot.
Yeah. Interesting stuff, though. We'll see if Knox Kiffin is playing for fill in the blank private school in Baton Rouge come time on I don't know, January or.
So something I was thinking about earlier, I feel like if he's going to remain at Ole Miss, and let's say they have a good win against Mississippi State this week, I feel like that would be after the game, like post-conference, like on the field, like getting interviewed. They're probably going to bring something up and him to speak. I'm looking forward to playing this game for years to come or something like that. Looking forward to the playoffs with this team. Now, if he leaves, he ain't going to say that on the field. So this is just something working in Jake's brain that I feel like the Friday after the game presser, when they run up to him on the field, feel like that's when we're gonna know.
Hmm.
At least some inklings of what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and if you're watching on the YouTube, Jake just had a pregame injury, a pre-pod injury.
Yeah.
Still showed up though. Still showed up. So.
Yeah, freaking dog bit me. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Looked like you had like a bad nose piercing job.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, man, I'm just covered up for it. But yeah, it got me pretty good.
You know, you're
Got
talking about the
pretty
nose
good.
piercing.
I mean,
Maybe he should just go ahead
I
and go
just got
for it.
napkins everywhere. Well, that might be a good excuse because I'm kind of like, I mean, what am I going to say to my parents? Like, my dog bit me. But that's kind of embarrassing, you know? Dogs are supposed to love you. I'm deflating.
Yeah,
It's
maybe,
okay. Everybody has their moments, Jake.
Well, I guess.
All right. Well, let's get into the slate for this Thanksgiving week/weekend. We will start here in Atlanta, Georgia. Georgia is going to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium to play Georgia Tech. Right now, Georgia is a 14.5-point favorite. The over-under is sitting at 59.5. Georgia Tech has not won this game since 2016. That was Kirby Smart's first season at Georgia. Last year, we obviously know there was the 8-overtime thriller cinema game on Black Friday as well at night. Both quarterbacks this season have been really the heart and soul of the team. Obviously, without Haynes King, Georgia Tech would probably just not have a good football team at all. Georgia may be all right without Gunnar Stockton, but he has been that guy for them nonetheless. A Heisman, candidate. Georgia Tech is 5th in offensive yards per game this season. But they are obviously going to go against the best defense by far that they have played this season, and one that's gotten a whole lot better at that as the season has went on. Georgia ranks 14th in defensive yards allowed, so it has gotten better and better each week, especially over the last few games, including, the Texas, Mississippi State games come to mind. There are two teams. These are two teams really just going in opposite directions. If you look at the last month or so, as I just mentioned with Georgia, how it seems they've gotten better. Tech has really not been getting better. They have, obviously the defensive woes have been really exposed. They have had some offensive, turnover struggles. And really all year long, I've been saying I really thought Tech was going to get Georgia this year. Just the way they played, the way they were looking. I thought I probably thought they were going to be sitting 11-0 if you asked me back in October about this game. But the way both these teams have been going, I think I think I've been swayed a little bit to think Georgia will win this game. I think 14.5 seems like a lot for a game like this. I know Georgia Tech is going to have some tricks up their sleeves. They're going to be ready. They want to win this game really bad, especially now that the whole ACC championship is out the window. Their season, we talked about it last episode, kind of feels like a waste, but they can kind of revive themselves, get to 10 wins, and with a big win over Georgia, I'm sure they still feel really good about how this season went. I think Georgia offensively, though, is going to have themselves a great day. I think 40 points at least, from what we've seen against this Georgia Tech defense all season long. Georgia Tech's on offense, their zone reads are going to be tough, just like they always are. Georgia's going to be playing without C.J. Allen, I'm pretty sure. So that'll be nice to see some other linebackers get in, but it's also a really tough loss for Georgia right now. I would assume he's been pretty much the captain of the defense, captain of the team all year. Got to keep Georgia Tech out of those 3rd and shorts. Obviously, last year they had a huge advantage because they could just pretty much get 3 or 4 yards every time they touched the ball. We're running it down our throats. So we'll see what happens there, but I think Georgia's able to get a comfortable, maybe 10-point win, maybe a touchdown victory. I think 14.5 seems like a little bit of a stretch, especially with that hook, but I like where Georgia is just with the way everything's looked the last month.
Yeah. Look, I think Tech's going to play with fire. Like, they're going to come out still, no matter what happened last week. They're still going to play with some intensity this week. Marquee is going to have that team ready to go, and they're going to play this game like it's their Super Bowl. Honestly, I'm with you. I don't see their defense showing up. I mean, they haven't all in the month of November. They've given up 42, 34, and 48, and 2 of those are losses this month. So it's been a rough go. But, we'll see if Georgia Tech's able to do kind of the same thing that they've tried to do all season, which is get the QB run game going. And maybe they have an effort to try and shrink the game a little bit because they know their defense has been in trouble recently. Just go out, get your runs with Haynes King, dink and dunk a little bit and just see where the game goes. Get a turnover here and there. But again, their defense has been playing abysmal. I want to know, though, like, in all honesty, from you and wherever Jake went, if Tech wins this game, what are their playoff chances? What does that do to their playoff hopes? Do you think they're still out? Like, does that give them enough credence with a win against Georgia at the end of the year to maybe sneak in at 10-2?
No. I think there's no chance.
I mean, we're going to find out. We're doing this before the playoff rankings come out tonight. So, we'll find out where they're ranked. But I would assume after the butt whooping they took, they're going to be in the 20s. I mean, a vault like that has never been seen, even with a big win like that. I just think I think their best chance was to win the ACC, especially we've been dogging the ACC the last couple of weeks. I think they're only getting one team in. So no, I don't see that happening at all.
No, I don't. And sorry, guys, I had some Wi-Fi issues. The Wi-Fi crapped out. So I'm back in here. But Caleb, have you completed your thoughts on the game? Okay. Here's how I feel about this. I feel like the spread is quite interesting. Like this, I saw it at 13.5. Garrison, you're talking about 14.5. I think regardless, I think that's a crazy number for this game. I don't think there's any world where Georgia Tech can win. But now we're in the situation where Georgia Tech season is, we were calling it a forgotten season the last episode. The season comes down to one game. It's a one-game season for them now. And the only way that they can take some sort of credence from this season, like I talked about on last episode, what is that big win for Georgia Tech? What's going to be their big moment that they remember? The best season they've had since the 90s. What is going to be their big moment? This is their only opportunity to say, that 2025 team was special. Haynes King was special. Brent Key, that team was special. This is their only opportunity. So we know Georgia Tech's going to come out firing. They're probably going to have some tricks up their sleeves. They're going to, do this and that. I still don't think any of that's going to matter. I mean, if they were ever going to beat Georgia last year was the opportunity when they were up like 3 scores in the fourth quarter, and they still weren't able to do it. So give me the dogs. I'm not sure about that 13.5 number. It's quite interesting. But I wouldn't be shocked if we just don't knock them out because, like we've said, their defense this past month has just been horrid. Their offense, now we've seen, there's been a lot of issues coming out of it. If we don't get Haynes moving, if he doesn't have 560 yards of offense and 5 or 6 touchdowns, their offense, it looks, pedestrian, at best. So I think Georgia's going to be able to get that offense, figured out. I don't think they're going to have any issues because Georgia is a well-oiled machine right now. They are making light work of every single team they come across. Then on the flip side, Georgia Tech, every single game looks like such a struggle. So
yeah, no, totally, I agree. It just seems like Georgia Tech has kind of taken that mantra that Georgia was playing with the first 2 months of the season. In this last month of the season, that's really just not where you want to be, especially when their season kind of seems like it's, like we've mentioned, gone down the drain in November. Which happens when you're not used to winning like this. You're not used to being in those situations. You see it all the time where teams in November start to fold when people start talking about them. So, all right, let's talk about a game on Black Friday night. Texas A&M is going to Texas. Right now, A&M is a minus 2.5 point favorite. Over-under is at 51.5. I really wish this game wasn't on Black Friday, so Georgia Tech could have got the night game. Maybe I'm just saying that because I'm going to the Georgia Tech game, wanted some more tailgate time, but whatever. I guess this will do. This is going to be a fun game to watch. Obviously, A&M wins. They're in the SEC championship. Texas just needs to win just to be able to put them on the bubble graphic. I know Caleb just asked us about Georgia Tech. I'll stop here for a second. I mean, do you guys think if Texas wins this game, they have a chance to get to playoff?
Texas has 3 losses, no 2 losses. I don't think a 3-loss team getting in the playoff. I think there's too many 1-loss teams, too many 2-loss teams. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them to vault.
Yeah, especially when you consider like what you guys have talked about and we've talked about on this podcast, that they've got to jump all the way to basically 10 to get in. That'd be really, really tough. They'd have to have a lot of help.
Yeah, and I think if Texas would have beat Georgia a couple weeks ago and we're sitting with 2 and then lose this game, you'd probably have a lot better discussion, but we'll see.
Or if they beat Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have done that too as well. If you didn't know, Texas has the all-time lead in this series, 77-37, and 5 ties. There's that. Stat to watch out for in this game, A&M has been the best third down defense in the country all year long. They have given up only 21% of third downs on defense. Texas is in the mid-60s on offense. They have had an offense that has struggled all year long, pretty much, except for when they played the Vandy's and Arkansas, where they have more talent. They've been able to look good, but and teams that have matched up with them, it has just not gone well for them. Can Sarkisian's offense keep the ball moving? I mentioned Georgia Tech, likes to get a lot of third and manageables, third and shorts. Can Texas kind of get in those situations to avoid, having to get off the field on third down and be putting themselves in bad situations? Texas is a top 10 rushing defense, but at the same time is like in the 80s in pass defense. And Texas A&M has one of the you could say Texas A&M has the best receiving core in the country when they're not dropping passes like they were against South Carolina. Texas has 37 sacks this year. Can they cause more pressure to put Marcel Reed in situations like in the South Carolina game where he's just forcing balls, throwing interceptions? Those are things that I'm just willing to look at because I think that's going to be the matchup here is going to be more of Texas's defense against Texas A&M's offense than vice versa. I'm 100% rooting for Texas here. I said Texas A&M has to win to go to the SEC championship. If they lose, Georgia gets to go, so it's pretty obvious there. But they are going to have to play their best game of the season if they want to do it. They are undefeated at home this season at DKR, so they have that. I don't know how. I think they can, though. I think they can. I think their defense is just going to have to ball out, get pressure on Marcel Reed, and Arch Manning's going to have a swing pass that they find a hole and then go 75 yards like they've been doing in most situations. It's going to be a grudgy 20-17, 17-10. Last year's game was like 17-7. I see that happening. I really want Texas to win. I don't know how, but I think they can. That's how I feel right now.
I think they can, but it's not necessarily. I don't really think they will. I'd be shocked if it comes out with a Texas A&M loss in this because, while we have seen Texas over the last month or so is really kind of hitting their swing. They're playing a lot better. I mean, look at last week. Arch Manning 6 touchdowns. Outside of that Georgia game, Texas has looked really good. They've looked really good. But with that said, I think Texas A&M is just a better team. They have a lot more to play for in this situation. You win this game, the chances of you getting that first round bye are basically locked in. Basically locked in unless they put up an absolute stinker in the SEC championship game. So I do agree with you on the point you made that I think this is going to be a low scoring. I'll definitely take a peek at the under in this one. Rivalry games. Both of the teams have decent defenses. At the end of the day, I think Texas A&M has one of the best pass rushes in all of football. So see if Arch is going to be able to respond to that well. Should be a good one, but I think Texas A&M should definitely be able to take care of this game. They're just more talented. Really like Elko. I like KC Concepcion. Like the quarterback. Like everything they got going on.
Do you like the quarterback? I mean, it depends on what version of what half you get him for, honestly, because he's been very inconsistent here as of late. You can say whatever you want to about it, and we talk about it all year. Like Marcel Reed has got to continue to play better in order to not cost him a game going down the road. That's a big question for me. Is he going to be able to handle DKR in the first half? Like if he plays bad in the first half like he did a couple weeks ago at home, it's not going to go very well on the road. Now, I don't think he can afford to do that. This team's much better in South Carolina. Does Arch play up again? Does he play at the level that he's been showing the last couple of weeks where he's been a superstar? And, maybe he's not catching a pass this game, but maybe he throws 3 or 4. It's really going to be up to the Texas offensive line to protect him a little bit, to let him work, because when he does have time, he's been great towards the end of the season. But we all know A&M's front is really, really good. So we'll see how it goes. I really believe that Texas A&M knows that they need to go ahead and get this. There's no reason to let off the gas and give this Texas team anything to talk about over them.
Texas, if they lose this game, obviously going to be 8-4. I don't know. Did you guys see the clip of Steve Sarkisian a couple years ago that got surfaced a couple days ago? Basically, he was in a press conference, I think in his first season or second season. He was saying, if we're at the point a couple years down the road and I'm sitting here with 3 losses or 4 losses, then we're going to need to start starting to make some adjustments, or I really got to, figure out what's going on here. And here he is in that situation, and we'll see what he does going forward. Did you guys see that clip at all? Or you guys know?
I did not see that clip. But I mean, you could make the argument. I mean, so let's say they do lose on Friday. 3 of their losses are to 3 of the best teams in the country. On the road against Ohio State, on the road against against Georgia, and then, against, 11-0 Texas A&M team. I feel like all 3 of those losses, you can maybe not, in a total, like, okay, you lose all 3 of them. Like we should at least be able to grab one. It's that Florida loss. You definitely can't make an excuse for. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they have had a gauntlet. They have had to go through a gauntlet. Going to Columbus and going to Athens in the same season is quite brutal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the game. Ohio State is going to Michigan. Right now, Ohio State is a -9.5 point favorite. Over-under is at 44.5. Obviously, we all know that Ohio State has not beat Michigan since before COVID. Ohio State has also not lost a game since they last played Michigan. They've won 15 games in a row. Ohio State has the number 1 defense in the country, the number 1 pass defense in the country, the number 2 rushing defense in the country, number 1 points defense in the country, and the 3rd best third down defense in the country. Now, they haven't played a team in the top 50 in offense other than Washington this year. Rutgers is the 2nd best at 60th. So do with that what you will. Michigan offensively, not a juggernaut. Justice Haynes is out for the year. Jordan Marshall, who stepped up as their feature running back, expected to play, got a little bit of a banged up shoulder. Bryce Underwood hasn't really been spectacular. He's only got 9 passing touchdowns this year. So a lot of numbers here. But all these numbers that go in Ohio State's favor really, you could say mean nothing because guess what? As the saying goes, Michigan has Ohio State's number.
Yeah.
It's in the big house. If Michigan wins, they are going to the Big Ten championship game. Just like someone on this podcast predicted before the season that would happen. It's going to be a slugfest in Ann Arbor. Julian Sain and Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, they're all great. But let's not forget that Michigan is to Ryan Day what Bama is to Kirby Smart. So give me Michigan outright in this game. Now, some way.
Yeah. Man, I really want to agree with you on this, and I want to say that they will, and maybe they will. I mean, maybe they will. I mean, you're right. I mean, Michigan is Ryan Day's kryptonite, and it's the best way you can put it. And he just can't get over that hump. But I think this is the year. I think this should. I mean, I'll say this: this should be the year. This should be the year. I don't have a pick in this game. I really wanted to make one of these my favorite underdogs, just so I had some skin in this one. But I just don't see how Ohio State loses this game, but I will tell you how I see it. If Ohio State does lose this game, they have been doing a lot of like load management this season. I mean, listen, Ohio State, to all the Big Ten listeners saying that the SEC, the cupcake week last week, okay, Ohio State played Rutgers. Okay, they played Rutgers, and they didn't even play Carnell Tate. They didn't play Jeremiah Smith. Julian Sain played for like half the game and got pulled out. They've done this in multiple games throughout the season. Okay, they're playing nobodies out here. So I feel like Ohio State has not been punched in the mouth. And how do you see how do you respond to adversity in months? Like really
all year.
Correct me if I'm wrong, like the Texas game, week 1 was like the closest you can say to a 4-quarter grudge match game for them. They didn't have to play Oregon. They didn't have to play Indiana. So if this game can get into the 4th quarter where it's a 1-possession game and maybe Michigan's winning and they got to play for behind for the first time all year, maybe we can see it then. But gun to my head, I got to make a call. I got to think that Ryan Day is going to be able to get it done. I have to believe it. I hope not. I'll say this. I hope not, but also kind of do hope that Ohio State beats them just for Dave Portnoy, because the whole like Dave Portnoy, like how many days it's been since Michigan lost to Ohio State. Like I would love for him to get humbled a little bit because he is just so obnoxious with Michigan. So obnoxious. I would love to see that. But, we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
It's a shame this game's not going to be a snow game. It's going to be like right at 30 degrees, but it's not going to be like the years past where we've seen a little white on the ground. However, Jake talked a little bit about the game script. Maybe they get down in the first half or second half, gets to the 4th quarter. I think that's the key for this game for Ohio State. Like Ryan Day and Brian Hartline got to have better game plans than what they've had in years past. Time and time again. Like I remember asking last year myself, like, why are they trying to play this conservative game? The last 2 years, I'd probably say that. They've got the tools to be able to flex on Michigan's corners. Like they need to throw the ball early and often and convert, and they need to execute. And if they do that, I don't think it'll be close. But if the pressure gets to him and the big house gets to him, we'll see how it goes. Julian Sain, though, has been the quietest assassin in America, I think, this year, because nobody watches Ohio State. And like everybody said, they hadn't played anybody. But he's almost thrown for 80% of completion percentage this year, which is crazy. And their throws, like if you go watch them, like the throws are not just everybody's not wide open. Like he's got big time throws. 27 touchdowns, 4 picks, doesn't turn the ball over. We'll see if that continues against Michigan this week.
It'll be interesting. I know last year it was even a bigger strat. What it was 21 and a half. Michigan's season was in the dust, and they still pulled it out. So this is just one of those games. It's all these games really where you're looking at all the numbers, but throw them all out the window. It doesn't matter. It's a 1-game season, like Jake said a minute ago, with all of these, especially in these big ones that mean a lot. In a game like this where the winners go into the Big Ten championship game, I'm really excited for that one. That is probably the one obviously I'm going to Georgia Tech. I'm going to be hyped up for that. But other than that, I'm very excited to see how Ohio State and Michigan goes. Okay, let's talk about the Iron Bowl real quick. Auburn right now, this one is in Auburn, in Jordan-Hare. Bama is -6.5, over under at 46.5. Big storyline here. Ashton Daniels is going to be starting for Auburn. We talked about that last episode, how Deuce Knight basically played last week to save a red shirt for Ashton Daniels. He's played okay so far. He's got a lot of experience, played at Stanford before. Game is at Jordan-Hare, as I mentioned before. It's at night. Now, the Jordan-Hare night games haven't really got a lot of wins this year, but it's had some scares. Okay, Georgia was a really scary game. Missouri, they went to overtime with them. They have both those. They got the teams on their toes when they come in there, okay? Bama's obviously in desperation mode. Have to win this game to make the SEC championship. Really, to make the playoffs, they have to win this game. I've mentioned this a couple times. Look, so Ty Simpson's last 3 games, he's 60 for 93, 750 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. I'll just say this: that stat line, it's all fine and dandy in terms of completions and yards, but what it's telling me is their offense is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that's scoring through the passing game. Okay, they can't run the ball. They haven't been able to do it all year long. And the last couple games, they've really struggled in the red zone. It goes back to that LSU game. They really struggled to have accurate passes. They've have some drop problems. And when the field gets shrunken on them, they've struggled. Auburn's got a top 15 run defense. So Alabama's still not going to be able to run the ball, even if Auburn had a bottom 15 run defense. I think Bama is going to win this game. It will be scary, though. This is every year when they play this game in Jordan-Hare, it's always close. It comes down to the final play. It'll be just like that. I have no doubt about that. I think Auburn knows they've got to win just to go to a bowl game. And they have fought the good fight all year long in Jordan-Hare. And even on the road, they took Vandy to overtime. They have played a lot of close games. About the Oklahoma game, they have been in a lot of games this year, and they could salvage their rough season that they have had with a win in this game, and everything else will not matter. It's another one-game season. I've seen too many situations, unlike a lot of these other games that we talked about, where this team just has not found ways to win at all. And I'm sure they'll find a way to lose this game at all. That is being Auburn. But this is very cool that this game's going to be at night, because it seems like we've always had this as the 3:30 game on CBS. Even last year it was at 3:30 on ABC. But this is, I think, probably the first time I've ever seen the Iron Bowl at night.
Yeah, I think it is, because it's almost always at 3:30, and then you get like the fourth quarter, like the lights got to turn on and it's getting dark. So I'm with you on that. I'm also looking forward to seeing the aspect of, that going on. But this is a tough one, because like you said, I mean, that's a great point you made. Auburn has been in a lot of close games this year. Almost every single game they're in is a full quarter, bout. They have a good defense. They're going to be able to, if they can stop the run and completely kill it, like a lot of teams have, and then Ty Simpson isn't on his A game, it's doable. It's very, very doable. This game opened at a 3.5-point spread. I don't know if y'all saw that, which is, that's saying enough that the mighty Alabama Crimson Tide going to play the 5-6 Auburn Tigers is a 3.5-point spread. That's crazy business. But I think I have a pick. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. I want to save a little bit, for my talk when I talk about this game later. But I would have my eyes on this one. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
I think everybody will, especially it being the nightcap Saturday night. It's going to be a huge one. Look, DJ Durkin's going to have these guys ready to go, man, and they're going to be fired up not only because they're playing Alabama, but because it's a night game in Jordan-Hare. Durkin's still in on this job. I think the players there actually want him to be retained, whether he is the head coach or the DC going forward. We'll see if Deuce Knight shows up in this game. I kind of expect both quarterbacks to play just because they want to get some kind of juice on the offensive side of the ball. See what sticks. And then maybe they play him in the first quarter and Deuce Knight's way more productive than Ashton Daniels. And then they go forward and continue to let him roll the rest of the game. But Ty Simpson, just like Garrison said, he's got to play better. Before the stretch that he talked about, he only had one pick all season. Then he goes out, throws pick 6 against Oklahoma and struggles the last couple games. He's got to get back on track. And I think that he can against this front as long as they protect him. And they're going to, in my opinion, have to find ways to get him to run the ball as a quarterback more. He's athletic enough to do it, maybe to design some zone reads and stuff like that, just to give them a little bit of a pressure release for them to maybe get a 2nd and 3 conversion on a down and distance. So definitely going to be a little uptight in the building for everybody that night. And we'll see if DJ can get them bowl eligible.
Yeah. Rivalry week. Nothing better, honestly.
Yeah.
This is the best week in college football. I mean, and it just seems like this year with, the playoffs and everything, just the amount of teams that have to win on Friday or Saturday is bigger than ever. I mean, it's awesome. I'm so excited. Yeah. This is going to be just a great slate this weekend. Other than those games we talked about, any other games you guys got your eye on?
I mean, my eyes are on the Indiana-Purdue game. I mean, how do we think this one's going to go? How this one's going to shake out? Indiana 28.5-point faves. This is a little bit of a rivalry, though. I mean, if you're not familiar with Indiana and Purdue, this is a rivalry. So just keep your eyes peeled. I mean, maybe Indiana is a little peek into the Big Ten championship game next week. Maybe Purdue's able to, hey, I'll say this, guys. Those guys on the other side of the football, they play football for a living, too. Yeah, they do. That coaching staff, they coach football for a living, too. So who knows? Just keep that one. top of the mind. Maybe. Don't have a pick for it. I do kind of like Purdue plus 28.5, though. Don't hate it. Don't hate it.
Is this a joke? Are you serious? I mean, that just
It's a little bit of a joke.
There's a bunch of games this weekend. I'm first of all going to be intrigued at the Egg Bowl just to see the dynamic and the cinema as to what goes on around that game, considering what all is at stake for the many different fan bases that are, intrigued. Miami's got to go to Pittsburgh. It's going to be cold as shit, and they got to handle business. They got to handle business. Yes, that most win for both teams. And we'll see if they can continue to roll and maybe keep their at-large chances alive. And also, Oklahoma's got to take care of business this weekend.
Yeah.
And they got LSU is still on paper one of the better teams in college football.
Yeah, on paper. You watch them on the field. They playing Western Kentucky the other night. They did not look that way at all.
Maybe if they had BK come out at halftime, they would have had a little juice.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe. I'm really looking forward to seeing Vanderbilt, Tennessee, 3:30 on Saturday as well. Obviously, Vandy, they're kind of on the outside looking in for an at-large spot at this moment, but we've talked about how they've never had a 10-win season before. That's on the line in Neyland Stadium, and Tennessee just needs a ranked win more than ever. I mean, they can't beat a ranked team. They can't win a big game right now, and they have one last chance this year to kind of go 9-3. And for Tennessee fans, 9-3 before, when it was back in May and you had lost your starting quarterback and everything looked a little rough, like you would take where you are right now. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. I'm really excited. I think Oregon, Washington, that's going to be a big one. Obviously, Oregon, we still think, probably needs to win that game to make sure they're in the playoff. If they lose, who knows? Caleb, I mean, are you excited for the Florida State game on 2 at 4:30?
Not terribly. I think I'll probably be watching some other games, may just check the score. Listen, I mean, after last week, if they beat Florida State, it'd be great. I really could care less, honestly. Is that bad? Because whether it goes good or bad, it doesn't make a difference, and it's not going to matter until Lane Kiffin makes an announcement. So who cares?
Yeah, I do want to talk a little bit more about that Miami Pitt game, because that was going to be my for real pick that I was going to throw out there. This should be a great matchup, and I want to pose a question to y'all. It's like, so I think we had Miami in our playoff ranking last week, but let's not think us. Let's think them, the College Ball Playoff Committee. And obviously we're going to have, a little bit more of an answer to this once the rankings come out later today. Do y'all think there's any path to the playoff for Miami right now?
Oklahoma and Notre Dame have to lose.
It has to start. Here's the thing. Oklahoma and Notre Dame, sure, but I think the big problem with Miami is the two Big 12 teams sitting in front of them, BYU and Utah. I mean, Utah is playing Kansas on Friday, and then their season's over, and they're most likely going to beat Kansas. So, will a win against, which I assume that Pittsburgh will be ranked tonight in the 20s for in the CFP. So will that extra ranked win that Miami's going to win, if they do it in a dominant fashion, maybe, vault them up a little bit above the Utah and BYU's? I mean, I just think those two, because I don't see Notre Dame. Obviously, Notre Dame's not going to lose to Stanford. They're 32.5-point favorites. Oklahoma, you could, make a little bit more of a, you could see it a little bit more. But I think the Big 12 teams in front of them are blocking. I think unless the committee, because there's the whole thing about how they haven't even compared Notre Dame and Miami, apparently, because they're not in the same, sector or whatever. I don't know if you guys heard them say that last week, that they basically put teams in like pods of 4, and they rank 1 through 4, and then they go to the 5 through 8, and they pick 4 teams. So basically they're saying that Notre Dame and Miami haven't been in the same pod.
Nobody knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they don't even know what they're doing.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, at this point, I don't see it unless one of those Big 12 teams chokes for them.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree. Which is a shame, because I do think Miami at full force is a playoff team. They are 100% a playoff team. We ranked them number 1 in the country 3 weeks in a row, because when they are playing their best, they're as good as anyone, but they really shot themselves in the foot. And I do want to say, because you did bring up the Notre Dame Miami comparison, because people love, I guess, outside of the College Football Playoff Committee, love to compare them, because obviously Miami did beat Notre Dame. But I would like to put that to bed, because if you've watched Notre Dame the last 6 games of the season, they're as good as anybody. They are boat racing every single team that gets in front of them. So I think they 100% deserve a spot. Just because Miami beat them in September does not mean that for the rest of the season that they should be ranked above them. And I understand, if you're a Miami fan, how you can reject that thought process. But if we're being for real here, if they matched up tomorrow at a neutral site,
I mean, Notre Dame,
I'd have to imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I totally agree. I think when you're watching Notre Dame, you can see that they are one of the best teams, but you're also watching them play nobody. Like they are playing absolutely nobody week in and week out. So that's the only thing that really comes to mind. And even when they played USC, they won by 10, so that was a good win. But I don't know. I do think
The one thing about Notre Dame, though, that we all know, and we've seen it on live TV before, we saw it last year, that what they're doing against the bad teams will translate against the good football teams. Like we've seen them, lest we forget, they had Texas A&M turn out to be one of the better teams in the country, and there was a 3-point game in their building. Like they had every ability to win that game. So I'm with you guys. I think they're good. Jeremiah Love, if you don't believe in Notre Dame, go turn on his tape. Just go see what he's up to.
100,000%. 1,000%.
Be the Heisman at this point. That's where I am. There's nobody to me that's better.
dude,
Mendoza?
You could give the Heisman to anybody at this point, and I'd just be like, okay. Because I mean, there's nobody out there to me personally that just is above and beyond better. I mean, I see the arguments for everybody. I wouldn't be mad at anybody for winning the Heisman at this point. I mean, if I was to pick, I guess it would just be Mendoza. If I had to pick who's going to be in New York, I feel like it'll just be Mendoza, Sayin, and Marcel Reed. And then maybe they throw a pity invite to Pavia or Love like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be Julian Sayin. It's going to be Julian Sayin. And I'll say, speaking directly to Julian Sayin right now, if you want my support, Jake Johnston, I know you're dying for Jake Johnston's support to win the Heisman Trophy. I need to see you do something on Saturday, because it's not your fault that y'all played cupcakes, for 10 games of the season. Y'all just played cupcakes. But I need to see you against a good defense do something, because that's what we're missing. Like we see, there's a 30-minute highlight reel of Gunnar Stockton taking down really good teams and moving the ball. There's a highlight tape of Jeremiah Love and Marcel Reed and Fernando Mendoza. We've seen all these moments. We talk about like the Heisman moments. Where's the Heisman moment? Someone elaborate to me what Julian Sayin's Heisman moment is.
You hadn't seen it yet. It'll happen this Saturday.
Well, maybe, hopefully, hey, if he wants my vote, I'm going to need a lot. I'm going to need a moment.
All right, let's talk about the NFL. Let's switch over. Thanksgiving, we've got some really big games on Thursday. Really good slate. Like I think it's an awesome slate, and it starts with the Packers at the Lions in Detroit. And Lions right now are -2.5, over under at 48.5. Big game to stay within the Bears in the top of the North, as we've talked about multiple times over the past couple of weeks. We please see these two teams played in week 1. The Packers put the Lions in a body bag, if you don't remember that, back in September. But the Lions are notorious for playing better at home. They're a way better team inside and outside. It's a running joke or a running theme in the NFL. Top 5 offense for the Lions, top 5 defense for the Packers. Sam Laporta is out for the Lions. Josh Jacobs apparently is expected to be back for the Packers. I don't know about you guys. I don't really know about this game at all. So someone help me out.
I don't really know either. I mean, I think these are two teams that we've seen that are very volatile. Like we have week to week, you're going to see the Packers, more so the Lions. We'll say the Lions will look really, really, really good. And then you'll see them look terrible like they have recently, like they did on Sunday for the majority of that game against the feeble New York Giants. The Packers, we kind of know what they are. They're 7-3-1. That's a really good record, but there's not many outside of that game you were just talking about. There's not many games where you're like, man, this Packers team is really good. And this is a team that all three of us spoke really highly on the preseason, saying, especially once they made that trade for Micah Parsons, this is a team that can win the Super Bowl. They can do it all. Really interesting. I mean, give me the Lions in this one. I feel like they'll be able to find a way. The loser of this game is going to find themselves in a very awkward position they'll probably make the playoffs still, but assuming the Bears are able to win this week, who the Bears have? Let me see real quick. The Bears are, okay. So this is a good opportunity because Bears will probably lose on Friday. So you win this game, pick a game up, and then you're right back in the mix. Should be a good one. We have 3 good Thanksgiving games.
Yeah, we do. Honestly, it's a better slate than I feel like usually every Thanksgiving there's one game you're just kind of like, oh, okay, I'll watch it. This year, you got some bangers. Look, I think it's going to be really important for the Packers to get Josh Jacobs back healthy in a short week. I mean, he was out last week. We'll see if he'll be ready to go and still productive like he has been. I think the defense will show up. The Lions have been a little bit on a hot streak here as of recent on offense, but look, it's going to come down to the little things in a game like this, like turnover margin and time of possession and third down conversions in my book. And we'll see if, Green Bay finally gets the light to click back on offense, because that's what they've truly been missing the last couple weeks.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm really excited to watch that one. And it's going to be followed up by the Chiefs at the Cowboys, which is awesome because I feel like every year they throw like the Commanders at the Cowboys or something else. And finally, I feel like we have never seen Patrick Mahomes on Thanksgiving. I don't know if that's a fact or not, but I feel like we haven't. And so it is right now. The Chiefs are -3, over-unders at 52.5. Obviously, the Chiefs had a big win last week against the Colts at home, but they are 1-4 on the road this season. Cowboys are 3-1-1 at home, 5-5 on their side as well with 5-5-1. Obviously, both teams are right now sitting there just hoping to make the wild card at this point. They both have little to no chance of making or winning their divisions at all. Both offenses have been playing a lot better. The Cowboys offense has been one of the better offenses in the National Football League. Well, I don't know where are you guys leaning on this one? This is another one that I feel like the Chiefs, just because they have to have it a little bit more. Maybe I trust them a little bit more in the situation, they'll win. But at the same time, the Cowboys offense has been really potent with Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and the whole crew really this year.
Yeah, you definitely, if you're a Chiefs fan, you don't want to see them get down like they did against the Colts last week. I think that's kind of a key to get started off a little bit hotter. But you're completely right that the Cowboys offense is going to give them some trouble regardless. They're going to have to score points. The Chiefs offense is going to have to show up. Prescott's been playing near MVP levels, even though his team's terrible this year. So he hasn't been able to get much recognition. But look, the Chiefs are gotten into themselves into a playoff mode. You say whatever you want to about it. I think they're going to play way up. It's on Thanksgiving. They don't need any more eyes on the game. That is obviously apparent. So I fully expect them to pull away in this one.
Yeah. Hey, give me the Cowboys. Give me the Cowboys. This Cowboys team, listen, my entire life I've been a Cowboys hater. My entire life. This Cowboys team, I enjoy. I enjoy this team. I enjoy Dak Prescott. I enjoy CeeDee Lamb. I love George Pickens. I love George Pickens and what he has done this year in Dallas. There's an interesting stat. You know, he has like 20 less yards receiving than the entire Pittsburgh Steelers receiving core. The entire core added up, he's like just below him. It takes one good game and he can surpass that. I think, listen, this is going to sound a little weird, but ever since like the whole Marshawn Kneeland thing is like super tragic. And I'm not, if you take this as me making a mockery of it, I promise I'm not. Sometimes things like this happen to a football team and they gel together and they start winning a lot of games. And they're 2-0 since that tragedy. They looked really good 2 weeks ago. And then last week, down 21-0, being able to fight back against a really good Philadelphia Eagles team, be able to get that win. Caleb's talking about the Chiefs being in playoff mode. I think the Cowboys are in playoff mode, and I think they can easily do it. And I think we've seen the Chiefs look very beatable a lot of times this year. I think Dallas is a decent defense, enough to maybe make Patrick Mahomes make a mistake here and there. And I love what Caleb said about Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott, that man can play quarterback. I love watching him play, and I think they'll be able to find a way to win on Thanksgiving.
All right, let's talk about the nightcap on Thanksgiving as the Cincinnati Bengals are going to Baltimore to play the Ravens. Right now, the Ravens are -7, over-unders at 52.5. Joe Burrow is back, people. He is cleared whatever protocol he's in. I think he had a leg injury, so he is going to be back. Jamar Chase is back after his 1-game suspension for spitting on Jalen Ramsey. So this is going to be a really fun game. We're not going to get the Joe Flacco against the Ravens game, bummer, but we are going to get the Joe Burrow game. The Ravens have won 5 in a row ever since their 1-5 start. That's big. I have mentioned this before. I think I said this last week to you guys because I have Lamar on my Dynasty League team, and he hasn't really been doing much for me. He has not really got going, I would say. He had that first game against the Dolphins on a Thursday night. He threw 4 touchdowns, was solid. But since then, I mean, he hasn't even eclipsed 200 yards passing. And he's only got 1 passing touchdown since that game with 2 interceptions. So the offense for Baltimore has seemed to, just be stalling out, maybe maybe they're just limited with the injury Lamar is coming back from. Their defense, though, at the same time has been really, really good and has stepped up tremendously, which was a huge problem the first part of the season. They were the worst defense. And the Baltimore Ravens are now going to face the worst defense in the league in Cincinnati Bengals. So something's got to give there. Do we think that Joe Burrow coming back, Jamar Chase, like we're going to just see fireworks on both sides because Baltimore is going to be playing the worst defense and we're just going to have one of those classic Bengals Ravens. I think about the Thursday night game. I think it was last year when they just scored like every possession. It was 38-35, or I think maybe it was a 1-point game because the Bengals tried to go for 2 there at the end. That's what I'm feeling about this game. What do you guys think?
I think the potential is there. I think the potential is definitely there. I mean, Joe Burrow has definitely been like itching to get back on the field since he got hurt week 3, week 2. So the potential is definitely there. Really interested to see how this one plays out. Sucks for the Bengals fans because they've waited all season to get Joe Burrow back, and now T. Higgins is hurt, so Higgins isn't going to play. So that hurts a little bit, but I'm kind of feeling the Bengals in this one. I'm feeling the Bengals, man. The Ravens, yes, they have won 5 straight, but none of those wins have been like this team has arrived. They're back. Obviously, tough league to win 5 straight. It's never going to come easy, but I think the Bengals could do it. I mean, the Bengals almost beat the almighty Patriots last week without Burrow and without Jamar. So I'm excited to see them get back, mostly for one of my fantasy leagues where I drafted Joe Burrow to stack with Jamar Chase, and then Burrow's been hurt all year. So I'm finally in week 12, week 11, whatever it is, finally going to be able to get back to playing Joe Burrow and stack with Jamar Chase. So hopefully he can resurrect my 2-9 season. Don't think so, but we'll see.
Yeah, I hope Joe Burrow's not been rushed back in this whole situation. Like, it still feels kind of quick considering what the initial diagnosis. This happened a lot this year, no? With NFL and college players, like you get told, "Oh, they're done for the season," and it's a week 11, week 12, and suddenly they're back. They're fine. Don't worry about it, guys. We got them handled. I honestly expect him to be rusty still, with guys not named Jamar Chase. I think him and Jamar Chase are going to be on lock all day. They've been in sync since 2018, 2019, so I don't expect that to stop anytime soon. Expect him to have a huge game too as well. I'm talking about Jamar Chase. He'll probably anytime touchdown, 2 touchdown bet. If you want to bet something pretty spicy on a prop, I would not mind that this week. I'd take a look at it because, like I said, he's going to look for chemistry and connection in his first game. Joe Burrow's safety blanket is Jamar Chase. And he's coming off a game, fresh legs. Say what you want to.
Should be a fun one. I love that slate we have on Thursday. It should be a really fun day. Black Friday, let's talk about that real quick. Bears are playing the Eagles. We've talked about the Bears are the top team in the NFC North. They're going against the top team in the NFC East, the Philadelphia Eagles, who just came off that crushing defeat to the Cowboys. The Eagles are -7 right now, over under at 44.5. This is one where one team, now you could say, it's hard to say the Eagles are like slumping because, they're not really losing that much other than last week. But it's obviously just been a drama-filled season for the Philadelphia Eagles, and you've got a confident team in Chicago coming in there who really needs a big stranglehold on the North, and they can get one, and kind of extend that lead a little bit in this game. They have been really good running the ball with Ben Johnson this year. They're second best in the league at rushing the ball, one of the top 5 offenses as well. When the Philly defense has really struggled, the Philly offense has really struggled to do anything between Saquon and Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith is the leading receiver. It's just hard to tell what you get from the Eagles because you think that, when they play a good team like the Lions a couple weeks ago, that the Lions are going to go in there and they're going to do their thing. Well, no, their defense just shows out and they just play one of those ugly games that the Eagles have been playing all year. What do you guys think?
It's tough. I mean, a second ago, I did just say, the Bears will probably lose. The Bears probably will lose this game because they've been playing, so hot. I mean, what was it? They've won like 8 of their last 9 games or something. Like, I mean, that's, say what you will. Like, I do think that Caleb Williams is playing really good football. I think Ben Johnson's coaching his ass off, but, that's a really tough pace to continue to go on. This is going to be a good one. I really don't know where I see this one going. For the record, I would love to see the Bears win this game, because I don't like Jalen Hurts. I don't like Nick Sirianni. I don't really like a lot going on with the Eagles. So let's definitely, let's go Bears. Love that one, the Bears. But should be an interesting matchup. It's in Philly, right?
Yeah.
Tough place to play.
3:00, going to be going on the same time as the Georgia Tech game. So we'll not be watching.
Yeah, we'll not be watching that one for sure. This is a temperature check on the Eagles locker room, man. I think, like, in order for you to be able to come out at home on Thanksgiving weekend and play good on primetime TV, like, you better be correct in your own household. And it feels like there's something going on. I think everybody has been watching football and keeps up with the news can understand what I'm talking about there. But Jalen Hurts got to come out and show the world he's still the Super Bowl MVP. That's the level that the Eagles fans and the players apparently have been waiting for him to get back to. I look for Chicago to try and start extremely fast. Try and score and get ahead early. See if the morale in that locker room is as true as what it is if they get down early and get embarrassed a little bit. And also, want to point out a Georgia player on the Eagles defense, not named Jordan Davis, not named Jalen Carter. Nakobe Dean has been an absolute animal this year for them on defense. Hasn't started the entire year, but to start a majority of the year has been a wrecking ball.
Fun fact about Nakobe Dean, when he was drafted, what was that, 2021? When he was drafted, do you know the player that got drafted the pick before him?
Wasn't it Troy Anderson? It was a Falcons pick, was it not?
That's
Was it? Okay. Yeah, I knew the Falcons were like right there.
It was the Falcons. I remember sitting there and being like, gotta pick Nakobe, and then we picked Destin Ritter, and then Nakobe went to the Eagles right after that. So yeah, really good player. Really good player. Okay, before we move on to our picks, just want to ask you, Jake, how are we feeling about the Falcons this weekend? We've got the New York Jets.
I mean, it's the Jets. We have to feel good. You have to feel good about our chances to win this game. You have to. You have to.
Now, let me ask you this. If the Falcons win this game and are 5-7.
Yeah, we're back. Unfortunately, we are going to be back. And this was something I said as soon as we signed off the podcast on Sunday. Dude, the Bucs lost again. The Panthers lost again last night. Like, say what you will. And apparently Baker's out for like 3-4 weeks. Like, he'll probably be out when we play them on Thursday Night Football in Tampa. Baker will probably be out of that game. We're going to be facing Cal Trask. I don't even know who the backup quarterback is. It is Teddy Bridgewater. You're right, because he came in on Sunday. It's definitely doable. I don't think it's going to happen. Just for the record, just putting this out there, because I don't want people to be like, oh, Jake, Jake thinks the terrible Falcons are going to win the South. But I've seen crazier. I've seen crazier happen, and we do kind of have a manageable schedule down the stretch. That was something that we have talked about on this podcast is the Falcons schedule. The first half of the season was like, a freaking juggernaut. But just to go through here, let me pull up the next games for the Falcons, because obviously the Jets game should be a win.
And we got the Seahawks.
Who knows? They barely beat the Titans. They just beat the Titans.
We know. Sam Darnold's going to torch you guys. Don't do that.
Then the Bucs. What if the Bucs don't have Baker? That's it. We can win that game. Then the Cardinals, the Rams are going to embarrass us. The Rams are going to
Monday. It's a Monday night game at home. The Rams is.
And then the last game of the season, we did beat the Bills. We did beat the Bills. And then the last game of the season, the Saints. Like, if we rally through there and we get one of the Seahawks and Rams games, and we don't lose those other ones that we should win, there's a chance. But it's such a shame. Just like I said last week about Georgia Tech, like, this was the year. The ACC was wide open. This was the year for the Falcons. Don't go 0-2 against the Carolina Panthers. Don't lose to the Niners in a very winnable game. And there's so many games where you can just go back. Don't lose to the Dolphins. Like, if there's so many games where we can just, one drive goes a little bit differently, and like 4 games, we are in control of the division right now. So, do I think they're going to win the division? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would bet my life on it. But if the Panthers and the Bucs keep losing, the door could open. We could win this division. Go to the wild card, get embarrassed by whoever comes in second in the NFC West.
All right. That's what I was hoping for. I was hoping for that soundbite. Okay. Let's get into our picks for the weekend. Just so everybody knows, I'll probably be putting this graphic up on Friday since we have so many games on Friday. Just to update standings, I'm 35-29, 8-5 on locks, 3-9 on deep shot. Caleb at 29-35, 6-7 on locks, 2-10 on deep shots. Jake, I did count your late additions, so you are 27-37, 8-5 on locks, 3-9 on deep shots. And since we didn't have a guest picker last week or this week, they're going to finish the season at 29-30, 6-6 on locks, 5-7 on deep shots.
So real quick. Do I have a chance to win the locks in the deep shot? What was your record on locks?
8-5. We both had the same locks record. You have a chance to beat Caleb. You're only 2 games back.
Man, if I could at least win the locks in the deep shot record, then I'm just going to spin it as I went 2-3. I won 2 of the competitions, and y'all won 1 of them. That's how this is about to get spun. So just get ready for it.
All right. Well, let's get into it. My favorite this week is, I'm going to say something that I hope Jake wasn't serious. I'm going to go with Indiana minus 28.5.
Yeah.
I will be going with the Hoosiers. They won this game last year 66-0. I think it's going to be something just like that. Purdue is 2-9. Indiana needs big. I mean, they don't need it, but they will have one big last statement before going into the Big Ten championship. This is also on Friday night. So, maybe you'll have this on in the bottom left-hand corner. when you're watching the Texas A&M game. This is just a vibes pick. I've gotten burned taking Indiana spread against Penn State, but Purdue doesn't seem like they're going to be able to, have a lead in the fourth quarter in this one. So I'm going to be going Indiana minus 28.5.
No, yeah. For the record, I think that's a great pick. That's a great pick. As one idiot on this podcast once incorrectly said that Kirk Cignetti does not kill teams. He does, in fact, kill teams. So he will probably kill the poor Boilermakers of Purdue on this weekend. For my favorite, not going to be my lock. I thought about making it my lock, but I don't think I'm going to make my underdog my lock. I'm going to be going Ole Miss -7 this weekend against Mississippi State. I think regardless on if Kiffin has decided if he's going to leave or if he's going to stay. If he's going to stay, obviously he wants to blow out Mississippi State because this is his rival and he wants to get hot going into the playoff. If he's going to leave, he wants to go on a high note. If he's going to leave, he knows it's going to be his last game, suiting up in the Ole Miss colors. He's going to want to go on a high note. Regardless, this is a game that he is going to want to, show his nuts in, and I think they're going to be able to blow him out.
Well, I hope he does that and says something good for me on Saturday. My favorite is going to be my lock. I'm keeping it in the SEC. I think Oklahoma is going to be able to take care of business, folks. There's -10.5. That is my lock of the week. Look, we've seen this game script play out with LSU this year. The under, if you haven't taken a look, it's under 40. So, we've seen that Bama score, 20-9. I think it's going to feel like something kind of like that game, a 23-6. Seen that stat line with Oklahoma this year already against Texas as well. Don't think that the offense is going to just light it up, obviously. I just think that defense is going to be able to stifle whatever LSU's got going on, especially after West Kentucky almost did.
All right, bring it around.
All right, so my underdog this week is going to be no other team than Vanderbilt. I feel like a sicko taking that pick. However, they just got juice, man. They got the juice. They're going to go in the Neyland, fired up. Playoff chances on the line. Who's to say they don't get help? Who's to say they don't get help this weekend and sneak their way into the 10th spot?
What's the number?
That's 3.5.
3.5. Plus 3.5.
So I am also going to take Vanderbilt. I had them at plus 2.5, but I will happily take the 3 and the hook. Give me that 3.5 number. For every reason that Caleb just said, this is a team that has shown that they can beat good teams this year. They're going to get the 10-2. They're going to get into the playoff, and I love that little smirk on Garrison's face because I think he also took Vanderbilt.
I did.
This is my lot as well. This is my lot. So
I did.
Hey, listen, guys. One time for week 13, rivalry week, 10-unit, Mega Max, well played, a lot of year.
Oh, it's not my lock. It is not my lock. It is not my lock. I just want to say that, but I do have Vandy plus 3.5. Look at that. I don't know if we've done that all year, if we've all three had the same pick. I know we've gotten close, but yeah, I love Vandy plus 3.5. Even if they don't win this game, I think this will be a really tight one in Neyland. The defense for Tennessee has been awful all year. They've struggled. We've seen the Vandy offense, especially Diego Pavia, just absolutely explode the last couple weeks, especially all season. So I'm going to go Vandy plus 3.5. My over is going to be a game that Jake mentioned. I'm going to go with the Ole Miss Mississippi State over 62.5. Ole Miss has a really good offense, but their defense definitely gives up points. We saw them give up 24 to DJ Lagway. I mean, that's something that you got to think about. I think Mississippi State is going to be able to get theirs, but I definitely think Mississippi State is going to be giving up points as well. So I'm going to be going with the over 62.5 there in the Egg Bowl, noon on Friday. It's the first game that you'll see on Friday.
I am making this over pick, just expecting madness. Give me the over in the Iron Bowl. Bama Auburn over 46.5. Give me craziness. I want to see it all. And it starts with points. I'm predicting one of these teams is going to be able to get to 30. The other one's going to be around like 24, 27. I don't know. I'm not a no math magician, but that adds up to more than 46.5 points. So give me that.
Okay, so my over is going to be a game nobody's going to watch. It's Colorado and Kansas State. It's over 50.5. The reason why I'm making this pick, I know Juju Lewis is being sat down this week to preserve a red shirt. Doesn't matter. They've played a round chair quarterbacks all season long. They're going to score a couple points. Kansas State, however, might run for 550 yards on these guys again because they ran for $1 billion last week. So I fully expect them to score a ton of points. That's going to be my over. And for my under, Garrison's really got me questioning what I picked my under to be, but I picked Ole Miss and Mississippi State under 62.5. That's a lot of points. I'm going to stick with it. I just think that Ole Miss has kind of gotten behind the running the football train a little more than what people expect or think. I think they're going to be able to control clock, time, possession, and probably try and shrink the game a little bit with Mississippi State because they don't want to get into a shootout with them. I understand that they may want to get up early, but I expect if they get up 2 possessions, they're going to try and run the football and squeeze the life out of that team because they can throw for explosives quickly on anybody. We've seen it all year.
Here's what I would say to that. Georgia ran the ball in Mississippi State, and it went for like 50 every single time. So it might be hard to control the clock if they keep scoring touchdowns. But good luck.
Nothing like a little matchup. Last week of the season for college football, I'm glad we're getting one at the end. I'm glad we're getting that. For my under, so unfortunately, I had the pleasure of watching, what's his name? Kyron Drone play football on Saturday. It is a mess at Virginia Tech. They are just not good. I don't think Virginia is that good either. I think they've gotten a lucky draw in the ACC, and they're just somehow, still skating by. I'm taking the under in the Virginia Tech-Virginia game, under 53.5. I think both of these offenses kind of stink. I think the Virginia offense isn't that terrible, but the Virginia Tech offense is really bad, and I just don't see either one of these teams scaring the 30s. I think, 24-17, sitting somewhere around there. 53.5 seems a little high.
I like that pick. Well, we've got one last matchup. I'm going to be going with the under in the Iron Bowl as my lock of the week. Under 46.5. Look, this game's in Jordan-Hare. I've talked about the Auburn defense playing up all season. I've talked about Alabama struggling on offense. And I think if Auburn's going to keep this a close game, like I mentioned, it's going to have to be low scoring. It's going to have to be 20-13, something like that. The Auburn offense has struggled all year long in pretty much every game other than the Mercer game last week. So I'm going to be going Bama Auburn under 46.5 as my lock of the week, which if it wins would be huge. It's also one of these things now we're in a situation where, like with the locks, like you mentioned the lock record, like I have to win the lock to stay with you. But if I lose my underdog, then you lose your lock. That's something interesting.
It's definitely something.
Yeah. Okay. And my deep shot, the final one of the year, I mentioned it somehow, some way, the Michigan Wolverines plus 320 will beat the Ohio State Buckeyes, and we'll be going to the Big Ten Championship. I said it at the beginning of this year, our first episode this season. I said Michigan had an easy Big Ten schedule. They got through it. They had one blemish against USC, and they always beat Ohio State. They're going to do it again. Plus 320 is great value. Give me the Wolverines. Give me Bryce Underwood going to the Big Ten Championship. Probably not winning it. Don't think they'll beat Indiana when they get there, but they'll win this game. Plus 320.
That seems like a bet of passion right there. You want to see that happen, and I love that. So for my final deep shot of the year, I'm going to be going with the Auburn Tigers. I'm going to go to the Auburn Tigers plus 186. I know. It's not quite as high as we would love for it.
In your defense, so there wasn't that many like big money line games this week, honestly, that were worth your time.
100% agree, Caleb, and I appreciate you coming about it.
It's also insane that game's only plus one. Auburn's only plus 186 in there.
It is also crazy that they are only plus 186. It should be at least plus 300. Do you not think that Michigan beating Ohio State is like less shocking than Auburn beating Bama, right? I mean, like, if it's not, it's definitely less than a plus 140 difference value.
Yeah.
But yeah, give me the Auburn Tigers somehow, some way. They're going to find a way to ruin Bama's season and get the dogs to Atlanta.
Okay, my deep shot is a value pick. It's completely a game nobody's going to watch. Central Michigan is playing Toledo. They're plus 320. They're both the same record. And, look, we've seen Toledo beat the brakes off of teams here of recent. If you're watching on Wednesday, Thursday nights, sometimes they play on Saturdays. However, Central Michigan is rivalry week, man. You throw all the records out the window. Doesn't matter what's happened. You know what I'm saying? This is the final week of the year. This is their Super Bowl, sitting at 7-4, trying to get their record back up to 8 wins. 8 wins in Central Michigan is a big year. It's a big year.
It is a big year. I just had to finish the road to glory with Central Michigan, not like literally today. I went 8-4. So hey,
You getting the portal?
Huh? I did get in the portal. We're at Houston now. It was tough to score with Central Michigan. It was so tough. Okay. Well, that will wrap up our final college picks of the year. Been a great time and super, super excited for this weekend. Let's finish up with our NFL best bets before we get out of here. Sorry, let me pull them up. Okay. My first one this week, I'm going to be staying or not be staying anywhere, I guess. I'm staying in the South. I'm going to stay in the South. Jags are playing the Titans on Sunday. -6.5. The Jags have been getting a little hot lately, as we've talked about. The Titans are one of the worst teams in football, if not the worst. They are 0-6 at home, so the home field advantage means nothing. And this is a rivalry game in the AFC South. So give me the Jags -6.5 as my first pick. And also, if you want to go to this game, tickets as low as $10.
Yeah, actually, quite a bit of my friends are actually going to this game on Sunday. Quite a bit of my Jacksonville friends are going up. I like that pick a lot. That is definitely like the Jags' biggest rival is the Titans. So they'll be up for it. Hopefully they'll take over. Have y'all seen the End Zone Boys for the Tennessee Titans?
Oh, yeah. I follow them on the Deep Shot Instagram.
Well, that might be why I see them, because I see them all the time. And I'm like, and I feel like I mess up our algorithm sometimes because I just like the stupidest stuff, thinking I'm scrolling on my account. I'm shit. I'm just scrolling on the Deep Shot account.
Or a lot of times where I see Deep Shot like something and I'm like,
that's Jake. For my first best bet this week, I'm going to be going with the Detroit Lions -2.5 at home against the Green Bay Packers. Be able to get right. Last few games have been a little bit rough showing for the Lions. I think they're going to be able to get back on track. The Packers have been skating by the skin of their teeth in some games that they should not have been in close matchups with. So I think the Lions are going to be able to get it done. Jahmyr Gibbs is playing out of his mind. Aiden Hutchinson just inked a new deal today, so expect him to be amped up and playing well. I don't know if y'all saw this, but Jameson Williams, 0 fantasy points last week. Almost killed me in my leagues.
I know.
But hopefully he gets back moving this week, and big win for the Detroit Lions.
What a shame, man. It sounds like you've had a brutal year in fantasy here, Jake.
I actually won that league. That was in my work league this is my 5th fantasy season that I've been in this league, and I have not made the playoffs any of the times. I'm 0-4 to make the playoffs, and I'm finally in the playoff picture this year, and I just have to win out, and I'm in, and I'm good.
I don't think I'm going to make the playoffs in any of mine. It's been a rough season.
I don't want to bring our own personal leagues up, but like our league, our little like high school league, Hunt Fishing Club, my team is garbage, boys, and I'm about to make the playoffs. It's garbage. I've had Kareem Hunt be my running back half the season. It's bad. I don't know what happened to you guys. I'm sorry.
And I lost my two wide receivers had season-ending leg injuries, so I like to think of that. And Brock Bowers was out half the year, and Breece Hall and Tony Pollard aren't really the most dynamic running back duo. So it's been rough. It's been rough in the Forsyth Hunt and Fishing Club. Maybe Brandon Aubrey 9th round wasn't the best pick.
I don't know. He probably scored more points than a lot of people on everybody's teams this year in that league. My first NFL pick is going to be betting on a team that may be missing their quarterback. I'm talking about the Commanders. The Broncos are going out there Sunday night sitting at 9-2, and they're only a 6.5 point favorite. I love the points there. Just underneath the touchdown. And look, like I said, don't think Jaden Daniels going to play. Even if he does, he's not going to be able to do very much against this very stout Denver defense. I can continue to believe that Bo Nix is going to put up good numbers against him this week.
Is he supposed to come back? Is that a thing? Like he might come back?
Who, Jaden?
Yeah.
It was rumored that he was maybe going to practice toward the end of the week, I think.
Okay.
Because it wasn't, whatever the injury was, it's not as bad as they thought. Like it wasn't he needed surgery or anything.
Interesting.
So for my other pick, swinging it around, I'm going with the Pats Giants over 46.5. Look, whatever the quarterback shows up and plays for the New York Giants, they're going to play well. Like Jackson Dart has put very good tape on field all year. Jameis Winston, if you didn't see, had one of the most explosive days of a passing of football that any quarterback's had in the NFL all year long, to the point that he had more big-time throws, I think, in that 1 week than some franchises have had all season. So they're going to score points. And with that, Drake May, if you didn't see everything that happened in that Bengals game this past week after the first quarter, my goodness, is he a good quarterback? Like, it continues to affirm every week that he is one of the elite players in this league at this point. I'm sold on it. So they're going to score points.
Yeah, I like that. So is Jackson Dart going to be back this week? There's a chance for that?
He's supposed to play, yeah.
Supposed to be, yeah. For my second best bet, I talked about this game earlier. I'm going to be going the Cincinnati Bengals +7. I'm also going to sprinkle a Jamar Chase anytime touchdown in this one because, like Caleb said earlier, if there's any rust, he ain't going to have rust going to number 1. Not in the slightest. But I think the Bengals are able to keep this with a touchdown. I mean, that's a pretty big spread in the NFL. Just a little cut ahead, but my third best bet is actually an even bigger spread than 7, just a little teaser. But yeah, I think the Bengals should be able to keep this one a touchdown. I think there's a good chance that they can win this game. We've seen some issues maybe with the Ravens over the last few weeks, not winning these games in convincing fashion. If they're able to keep the Bengals around in this one, I think they'll be able to keep it within a touch.
All right. My second one is going to be a game Caleb talked about a second ago. I'm going to go with the Giants plus 7.5 in that game just because they lose every game by a touchdown or less. It's that simple. If you've been watching the Giants, which, I've had the kind of a pleasure to watch a decent amount of their games this season, they keep it close. They know how to play tight football games in the fourth quarter. They just don't know how to win them. So I think they're going to do that on Monday night in prime time. I mean, I'm sure we all know the Giants and the Patriots, when they match up, no matter, what the records are, the Giants have their numbers. So we can take plus 7.5 there. And then my last one is going to be just give me the 49ers minus $1 billion against the Cleveland Browns. Okay. And this, say what you want. I hope Shedeur Sanders throws 5 interceptions on Sunday. I hope he does.
If you want to make that bet, I'll take the Browns plus $1 billion. I'll take that bet. I will take it. I will get on the other side of that one if you want to get some action.
Also, by the way, just real quick, 49ers leading rusher, Christian McCaffrey, 796 rushing yards. 49ers leading receiver, Christian McCaffrey, 785 receiving yards.
That's pretty good.
I heard that he's leading the NFL in receptions and rushes.
I mean, he's got 81 catches this year. So here, I'll pull that up while Jake.
Raise 81? Guys, most people's number 2 receiver doesn't get 81 receiving yards in an entire season. And he's playing running back.
Just get the ball to 23. Just get the ball to him. Just get the ball to him.
He's still healthy. Nobody thought he was.
Yeah, he is. He leads the league in receptions.
So you got to imagine he'll end the season with over 100 catches. That's wow. If I could just go back in time, I think I'd draft him in every single league because he did fall in quite a bit of leagues. He fell, to the second, third round. For my last best bet, I'm gonna be going with the LA Chargers minus 9.5. They're playing arguably the worst team in the NFL this week in the Las Vegas Raiders. The Browns beat them by 2 touchdowns last week. The Cowboys beat them the week before by 16 points. If they cannot cover a +7 against the Browns, how on earth should they cover that against the Chargers? So, yes, you can have the 9.5 points, and I'll take my money and I'll run.
I think some of that is due to how good the Browns defense is, and that's why I'm taking that game's under this week. It's 37.5, but look, I fully expect for Brock Purdy to seriously struggle against this front. He struggled the other night. I don't know if you guys watched that game last night, but he was abysmal in my book. A lot of throws. Turned the ball over a bunch in the first half. You think it's going to get worse or better? I would opt for worse. I think it's going to be another shock game for them this week. What a bad decision to pay that guy. What a bad decision.
Okay, before we get out of here, what a bad decision to pay that guy. You guys saw Chip Kelly was fired by the Raiders. We were just talking about them. He was made the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL in the offseason, $2 million a year, and now he's fired after 11 games.
Yeah, well, he just got a lot richer. Just wait until he gets involved in a college job. I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen. He's going to get a college head coaching job somewhere.
Put him back at UCLA. Interesting. Also, speaking of college head coach, did you guys see the North Texas coach is now accepting the Oklahoma State job?
We were potting?
Happened a little bit before. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but I did see that the North Texas.
Eric Morris?
Yep, Eric Morris, the new coach in Stillwater, Oklahoma. All right, well, that will wrap up episode 32. We have a great weekend of football, but make sure before that you enjoy your Thanksgiving with your family. Happy Thanksgiving to my co-host here. It's been a great year. Thankful for you guys, and we've got plenty more podcasts to go. So for Jake and Caleb, I'm Gary. We'll see you guys next week. Deep shout out.